Godot isn't catching up. It's already lapping engines in core features most devs never even glance at. While Unity was busy experimenting on its own users, and Unreal was compiling shaders long enough to make you question your life choices, Godot was quietly fixing what actually matters. No monetization scams, no identity crisis, no bloat, just raw progress. We've seen this movie before. Blender was not professional until it replaced half the industry. Not because it was flashy, because it was stable. And suddenly, everyone swears they believed in it from day one. Godot is hitting that exact inflection point right now in 2026. In this video, I'm flipping the switch. RTX on for Godot, turning this into this. And no, you don't need actual ray tracing, I promise. For this demo, I'm remastering a classic Team Fortress 2 map, ported into Godot via Blender. We'll build a clean version of the scene, using the original assets updated to proper PPR materials, isolating what Godot's lighting and post-processing can really do when everything else is dialed in. You can grab the file for this remastered map in my Discord linked below. First, we will light it as a bright daytime scene. And as a bonus at the end, I'll throw in a moody nighttime version to show how the same setup adapts. We're on the latest staple, Godot 4.6, a huge update to screen space reflections, a whole new modern theme, making the workflow on Godot a whole lot easier. Start with a default empty scene on Forward Plus rendering method. Add a ground plane and a cube. In editor it looks fine. Hit play however, and it's flat gray nothing. Nothing's broken. The editor was just babysitting you with previews. Runtime, the scene has no opinion until you tell it what to do. So here's your Godot specific 3D graphics checklist. Directional light, skylight, screen space effects which are ambient occlusion, reflections and indirect lighting, fog, global illumination, which we have two options for, real-time and baked light maps. We will dive into project settings, and finally, we'll talk about reflection probes. So I'm gonna make you an offer you cannot refuse. By the time we're done, I will let you know exactly why Godot 4.6 punches way above its weight, and in return, you will subscribe. So to get the sun and environment working, we can just press this button right here. We have a preview sun and a preview environment. We can add these to our scene by clicking these buttons. If we hit play now, we can see our box. Let's get our scene into this engine. Drag it and drop it. And it's going to take a while. The map has been imported. Let me take my cube, delete it, and also I'll delete my plane. Make a new inherited scene, and this is our map. It looks fine in Godot. It does have some bugs, but it should be fine. Let's save this inherited scene in a new folder that we will call scenes. And inside of the scenes folder, we will make a new folder that's called maps. And I will save my map with the same name. It's fine. Go back to our main scene, drag and drop the map. Let me remove the grid to get a better look on the map. So let's start with something really important when working Godot. I think it should be a default option, honestly. We need to add our 3D cursor, the same one we have in Blender. You should be able to shift right click and we will have our 3D cursor right here. Press Shift S, I can move the selected object to 3D cursor, the same way we can in Blender. Let's turn off the local space, move my direction light up a little bit. We have what's called cascaded shadows in Godot. The default settings are bad. The way the cascaded maps are blended together is not good. So we will start by going to the directional shadows on our directional light, and let's blend the shadow splits. And we already have a much better result on our shadows. We can still see it, but it's much less jarring. Shadow settings. We don't have contact shadows on the sunlight, but if we decrease the bias enough, it kind of simulates contact shadows. If we look at the edges where the shadows are, if we have a higher bias, the calculations are wrong, but if we have a zero bias, then we will have a problem with self-shadowing. Lore has all of these weird artifacts, and that's because of the bias. So we can keep it at 0.05. We can also increase the blur of the shadows a little bit to have a more realistic result. 2 or 3 for now. One more thing I want to talk about in the shadows is if we go to the project settings, we go down to rendering and we go to lights and shadows, we can see that our directional shadow map size is 4K. We can double that to be 8K and we will have much better shadows as you saw in the background. This is 4K and this is 8K. I wouldn't recommend going higher unless you want to have an ultra graphics preset in your game. Let's go back, make it 8K. As you can see, you can do mathematical equations in Godot. Other settings that we need for the directional light is soft shadow filter quality. Let's make that soft high. We are here, might as well just do that for positional shadows. We also increase the atlas size to 8K here. Our blur effect did a number on our shadows here, especially when we're far away. I will decrease the blur amount to just 2. Now let's go to the world environment, which is gonna be most of our work here. I will start by replacing the sky, a panorama sky material, and I will provide the sky I'm using on my Discord server again. This is the sky I'm gonna be using. It is stylized, which is going to suit our map here. Let's import it into our assets folder. First, I will make a new folder, call it textures. Drag the HDRI sky and drop it into our folder here. Then I will drag this, drop it into our sky. The sky is a bit too bright for my liking, so I'm gonna decrease it to 0.5. I will also increase the radiance size to 512 to have better lighting from the sky. And now we can control the rotation of our sky as well. Make the sun of our sky match the directional light in our Godot scene. So I will simply rotate it on the Y so that the sun roughly comes from the same place of our directional light. As you can see, this is the angle of our directional light. We go to the environment. Let's just give it a similar angle. No need to be very accurate here. So let us see what other settings do we have in the environment. Let's start with the tone mapper. The default one is filmic. I will be using ACES because I found it has the best contrast and colors, and I will increase the exposure of it a tiny bit to 1.2. Go back to my directional light. I will increase the split to a little bit so that my shadows don't clip as far. This will decrease the sharpness of these shadows, but it will look better overall. I'm finding these settings for this map are looking good, but it can change from one map to another, so you always have to tweak those settings to your liking. Screen space effects are quick tricks that run after your scene is already drawn on screen. They only look at what's visible right now, the colors you see and how far away things are from the camera. For screen space reflections, here's how it works super simply. You've got a shiny surface, like a wet floor or metal. Godot takes the pixels already rendered on screen, flips and stretches them to look like they're reflecting on that surface. However, if something moves off screen or gets blocked, the reflections disappear too. That's why it's fast and cheap, but it's limited to what the camera can actually see. Now back to the environment, we can enable SSR. So this is without screen space reflections and this is with it. As you can see, we have much more realistic looking results for our reflections. Moving on, we can enable our SSAO, which is screen space ambient occlusion, which is basically adding slight shadows between objects that are close together. And we can see that by increasing the intensity of it. The objects that are close together get shaded. We can even increase the radius. This will make the effect much more pronounced. But I will leave the settings at default, but maybe increase the intensity to 3. And now we will move to another screen space effect, which is screen space indirect lighting. Turning it on, it's a very slight addition as well, but it basically means that we're gonna get some global illumination. We can increase the intensity to see what's exactly happening. And this is all screen space calculated, which is very fast. But as soon as the geometry is out of the screen, the effect goes away. So we're gonna keep this at low intensity, but we will keep it on because it helps to increase our realism. Most games utilize fog. It's a very important part to add atmosphere to our game, and it adds a lot of depth. We have two options in Godot. We have the normal fog, which is very fast. It's just using the depth data of our scene to add color, and it doesn't interact with the light. It looks good if we tweak it, but we're gonna use the other option, which is the volumetric fog. It's much more expensive, but it gives much better results, and it interacts with the lights. We will have a better looking image. I will change the albedo of it to be slightly sandy colored, better fit our scene. Let's go with something like that for now. We can increase the sky effect to better pass through our HDRI in the scene. We have three methods of doing global illumination in Godot. We have two real-time methods, which are SDFGI, another one called VoxelGI, and we of course also have lightmaps, which is one of the most used, especially in older games, that still to this day has the best results overall. But we'll start with the SDFGI, it's the easiest to implement. You just click this button for SDFGI in the environment settings, and as you can see, we straight out of the box have global illumination that looks passable. Let's start with cascades. I set these to 8. I set the Y scale to 50%, and we can now also go to our project settings, go to our global illumination, and for our SDFGI, we can use the highest amount of row break count. The frames to update, I decreased that to 2. It has a very nice global illumination effect for this outdoor scene. So this is the before. If we turn back our SDFGI, we have a much better result. So the second option is VoxelGI, and to do that, we will have to add a node that is called the VoxelGI node. It's basically a big grid that has a lot of subdivided faces. Let's make this VoxelGI cover most of our scene here, and I will increase the subdivision, and let's make that again. This helps us get a high quality global illumination for some more steps, but it also is more stable with less artifacts than SDFGI. You can see the baked voxel data for our lighting here. Also, this looks like a nice map. You should be able to export these as maps, honestly. I will make one for this interior right here. Before baking the second one, make sure to release the data of the first one and then bake it and save it again. After you do that, make sure to enable interior on the second one. We have much more realistic interior lighting for this part of the map. A pro tip for lighting in Godot is to use the display lighting mode, and this will allow us to only view the lighting of our scene with no distracting materials. This is the default view of Godot, and this is with some 5 minutes of VoxelGI. Let's go to our third option of global illumination, which is lightmaps. And this is the most performant one of the options, also the one that requires the most setup, but on the bright side, it may yield the best looking result out of all of them. To be able to do this, we will need to generate light maps for our entire scene here. We click on our scene here, go to the import options and look for light baking. Choose static light maps. Re-import our scene with the static light map option. This will basically generate new UVs for our scene that will be able to capture light map data. So now that we have our light maps generated, we can start experimenting with our light maps. We have many options for our light maps, but for now, let's just do a bake with our default settings to see what we have. Of course, we will have to save the data for that. The bake is done, and now we can view our scene with the baked light map. This is with it off, and this is with it on. Most of the bugs that you will see in SDFGI or in VoxelGI is completely eliminated in this method. Increase the quality of our SAO, our SSIL. Let's go to anti-aliasing, which is very important. Use debanding. We can use SMAA for screen space anti-aliasing. And this is our final image. We can take a look at our frame time. We still have good frame rate even on my 4060, which is not a high-end GPU. Of course, there's no game logic running, but we also did not optimize the lighting. This is the performance with VoxelGI. Baked lighting is much more performant than VoxelGI while looking better at the same time. We can also compare the performance with SDFGI, and again, light maps are much more performant than SDFGI. For more optimization, I will remove the outer side of my map from my light baking. And how we can do that is by going to our inherit scene that has the GI. We will select our meshes that we don't want to have data for, and we go to the global illumination settings and select disabled. I will do that for most of these, and this will give me a better quality, faster to render light map. So while experimenting on this project, I have found that using reflection probes for the real-time methods of global illumination actually gave me worse results, but using reflection probes with the light map gives a better result, as you can see by this area right here. So I would advise using reflection probes with light maps, which is the method that requires the most setup but gives you the best frames per second. Now I have to note that if your scene doesn't have destructible environment, you are 9 times out of 10 better off using light maps. But for now, I will be using VoxelGI because it's a good compromise between quality and fast iteration. Let's take our directional light, and instead of it acting as a sun, I will make it act as a moonlight. I will keep the exact same settings. I will give it a slight blue color, and I will decrease the energy of this light significantly. Then we will go to our world environment, and for the sky, I will remove it completely and use a procedural sky from Godot. I will slightly increase the energy that is given off by my moonlight and give it a more saturated blue color to emphasize the dark lighting of the scene or the night lighting of the scene. And I will take my sky and make it have a darker blue color with the horizon being more black. I will remove the sun from the sky, and of course we can add stars, we can add an HDRI, but for now let's just go with this setup. Change the volumetric lights color to be white, which should play nicely with our blue lighting. Now doing a night scene setup is more work because you will need more lights to compensate for the lack of daylight. We will start with this red light right here. Add my 3D cursor, add an omni light, move it up, remove snapping, give it a red color similar to its source. Also, I can enable shadows on it, but I don't think for this particular light that it's worth adding shadows to, because I'm gonna keep it small like that. I will move it down a little bit more. I will also increase the size of it slightly to give a better reflection. And now let's start with adding lights to these lanterns over here. I will add another omni light, move snapping again. It's a bug I think in the new Godot. Snapping turns on by default, and I will add a warm tint to it, a similar color to its source. I will add another one here, and you can see how helpful it is to have the 3D cursor. Maybe I will increase the radius on these two to give off more light in our scene, and I might actually enable the shadows on this one, but I need to be very selective which lights I enable the shadows on. Increase the size of this light as well, so we can have better shadows, more blurry shadows, softer ones, and I will increase the blur of it ever so slightly. This one I will also enable the shadows on because it shouldn't light up the other room like that, and will also increase the size of it. Maybe actually I will delete this one and copy this one again with the new settings. And now we can add other lights as well. We should add a spotlight for this, make it point 90 degrees down to the floor, snap it to 90 degrees, move it down a little bit, increase the effect distance of it, increase the cone angle of it, a warmer color, and maybe increase the energy a little bit of it. I will copy the same light over here. To see inside of dark areas, you can enable unshaded modes. This is without our global illumination. Take all of these lights that I've added, change them to static. And now I will take my VoxelGI and bake it. As you can see, in this scene, we do have an effect from our VoxelGI. It is not as pronounced as our daytime scene, and that's because we don't have that much bouncing light in night scenes. But it looks much better with it on. For example, in this area, you can see the effect of the bouncing lights looks much better. We can also try SDFGI, and we also have a better looking result than the default. But as you can see, our FPS is taking a bigger hit. So this is without the SDFGI, we have over 100 FPS, and with it, FPS gets nearly cut in half at 60-70 FPS. And with our VoxelGI, we have better FPS at 60 to 80, depending on where we're looking. This area has a lot of shadows, so we will get less FPS. And this is how our scene looks like at nighttime. So now let's move on to the interior part of our scene. you've made it this far, thank you for watching. And remember, we made a deal. If this video helped you, now is the time to subscribe. And don't forget to grab the file in my Discord. See you next time.